Okay, it should be starting up here in a moment. Okay, there we go. Alright, so hey everyone, this is Joel from Productions², and tonight we are going to be talking about the next 3 plugins I plan on developing for RMMV. So, as you may or may not know, we'll keep that open now. I'll leave those. Well, do I actually need them or no? Well, yeah, I'll leave them up in case I need them. As you may or may not know, I have been modifying or converting scripts that I have from my XP game, over to RMMV plugins, JavaScript plugins. And it's not really a conversion, it's more like taking the general idea of what's in there and then converting it and modifying it and using it as kind of like a base to build up something a little more interesting. So I've done that now with the class change script as well as the bank script. Both those are Sephiroth spawns. We're going to be moving on to something a little more complex now. Actually, a couple things more complex. So, actually 3 things more complex than that. So the first one is going to be, that we're going to be working on first, is going to be a plugin based on, I think it's Guillaume's weapon level script. Well, let me actually open it though, so I can know what the hell I'm talking about. Okay. It could also be a KCG script. I think it's, for some reason, Guillaume just kind of sticks out. Though it's like in, well, it's in Japanese. It's not Korean. Doesn't mean anything though. They could have just pulled stuff over and modified it here. But anyway, so this is some of the weapon level up script. So basically, what the weapon level, I'll just show you instead of trying to explain it. Yes, so I didn't make any changes, but whatever. Write this down, mouse support. So what this does is we have, it gives you your weapons levels, and you get experience with them and all that. So, you need to, so what you do is you use experience you gain to level up the weapons. Now, okay, here we go. There are buttons. So you can ABS. Okay, so we get some experience. Now if we go back, we'll see that the weapons have gained experience. Here we go, we got 6,000 experience. So now what you do is you go in here and you use the experience to buy levels. And as you do so, you can see the attack power starts going up. And they get more powerful. Now, I think that's pretty much all there is to it, for the most part. What I need to figure out is exactly what we have in here. So let's see, game actor, game battler, independent skill usable and learned. So code 1, 2, and 3. So these are for game battler. Would really be nice if there were proper comments. This is going to be a little bit more difficult to kind of decipher for that reason. So game battler, amend customize elements correct, elements correct, define elements correct as element set, if element correct by multi, return 100 if element set. So game actor, game battler. So it kind of looks like they pulled a bunch of code that was already being defined and kind of made modifications. Again, the question is, where are those modifications really at? Or maybe it's just to create things in a particular order. So let's just kind of map out what this is actually going to be. So let's call this on Advanced Weapon Plugin. OP for short. So first things first is we have to give weapons levels, which so do we want to do it like on that where the weapon gains levels by basically spending experience on them, or do we want to actually have a system in place where weapons will level up automatically based on something? Like maybe we create a file that you pull in through a JS file, JSON file you pull in that has basically a list of the weapons. So we're gonna have like the weapon ID and then the level, the experience for each level or something. I mean, doing it that way would be interesting. Maybe we could do it both ways, or maybe so basically have it as two separate systems. One system where they automatically level up, the other one where it's done through spending the experience on the weapons, which can either be bought through a shop using accumulated XP from battles, or can happen automatically through some kind of external file, maybe a JSON file that is loaded into the game and used during I guess it would be during the victory / spoils code processing. The Vitery. The next thing is that we have to determine how levels will affect weapons. For example, will they give boosts to stats? Unlock new stats at certain levels. Maybe have a level defined kind of skill tree per weapon, or something else. How to define all of this? Obviously, note tags. So what else should the weapon script do? Weapon plugin do. So should be able to, you gain levels in your weapons. So we got a couple of things in this one kind of break out. So as you gain levels on weapons, how does that impact the weapon? Does it boost maybe just the attack power on the script from the RMXP script, or does it increase the attack power but then unlock additional boosts to other stats for example your hit chance or something, or is there, in addition to that, maybe some skills, or maybe just skills in general, are tied to the weapons themselves and you gain access to skills once you get your weapons to a certain level, kind of like Golden Sun, sort of. Let's see, what else should this be able to do? How about weapon refinement? A system whereby you spend weapon levels to increase the rate of bonuses. So, for example, you get a weapon to, say, level 50, then you can basically take all those levels, spend them to create like a more powerful version of that weapon. So like you have like a basic sword or something, an iron sword, get to level 50, you refine it into a iron sword +1 or something like that. As an example of how that might work. What else? Weapon. Let's see. What about weapon synthesis? A system whereby weapons of certain levels and types can be combined together to create a newer weapon with traits from both the seed weapons. So let me just put a note up here about that example. An iron sword at level, let's just say 25 for this example. Use the levels to create a iron sword +1 and remove the levels. This would allow this new weapon would have a slightly higher growth curve, or slightly higher stat growth. But would also depend on the weapon. Say like later game weapons would have greater growth. So as an example, so for example, take an iron axe with, let's just say plus 35 damage and a bleeding trait or something. So in other words, the axe would have 35 plus damage on your top of your damage, plus also be able to inflict bleeding on targets at a certain rate. And a sword, a steel sword. Let's actually use a steel mace. And either both traits with reduced currents, or whichever trait was more predominant, aka higher rate of occurrence. And spelled occurrence wrong twice. So that's how that would work. So basically you'd be able to take two weapons, combine them to get a newer weapon. You get some of the stat increases from it, and then maybe both, maybe all the traits from both weapons just at a reduced chance of occurring when you're attacking, or maybe just whatever the one or top two, depending on how many traits there are. The the top one or two most occurring traits would be carried over, or maybe you could choose what to bring over, or maybe you could choose what to bring over for an expense. It's like maybe some sort of items or gold or both to do that. So what else would this system have? What about weapon durability? I mean, I don't really like durability systems, but at the same time, it could be something you could turn on or off. So let's go ahead and add that. Because it's supposed to be an advanced weapon plugin, so you have a bunch of different things, systems that you can enable or disable. System whereby weapons are given a durability value, and through use, this value is decreased until it reaches 0, at which point it would either break and be removed, or severely impacted, or stats would be severely impacted. Maybe a setting to toggle which would happen. The pairing could either be done through items or a shop. Same like a blacksmith shop where you would level up your weapons at and like apply the experience if you're doing it that way through the non-automatic variety. But you would still do weapon refinement there maybe, and synthesis as well. So maybe at that kind of a place is where you would do a repair on your weapons, or maybe have items that would repair your weapons for you when used. So I think that's probably a good base starting point for what we want to do with this plugin. Let's move on to the Compendium. So, Compendium plugin. So this plugin would plugin would be akin to the KCG history, item book, and whatever else, and whatever else type genre of scripts where information on almost everything would be tracked, such as enemy information, skills, items, etc. Also add in a section for game stories, synopsis, maybe lore and background information, as well as what else would we need with this? So what else would be tracked with this? So I basically have just said all that stuff plus an additional section for game story synopsis, lore and background information, as well as maybe character information. Well, that'd be lore and background. And that's this little tiny 3-line description is already a 10 amount, so about the same amount of work as what's in this advanced weapon plugin, probably. So we'll leave it there for now. It sounds like a pretty good description of what that plugin would be. And then finally, the limit breaker plugin. Now I have no clue if this is possible to do, but so what this is KCG released a script a long time ago for XP that basically breaks the limits of the game. So you can go over level 99, you can go higher on stats, you can do more than 9,999 damage. All that stuff gets broken and there's new limits set. So that's kind of what I want to do with this plugin, is to allow that to happen again. It's kind of a very, I don't know, let's see if I can, it's not in this one. But let's see if I can, plus I had to find one where I actually have it working, because I had made changes to make things work for other scripts that I incorporated alongside it that had broken it. So I had to find one. ABS, so that's the ABS script in there too. Maybe that's what that is. The ABS script is that 3-level script. Radamy's demo. That's not in there for sure. Attack, I don't think it's that one. Personality engine. What is that? Yeah, it doesn't even work. So let's see, what does this do? Script P, level up 1. Travel the world, many interesting things. So personally handles character personality interactions and emotions, adds stereotype names, and 10 more characters and personality model. Intrinsic variables 0 to integrity. That's interesting. This seems pretty interesting, actually. It's too bad it doesn't work. What the hell, arousal disgust? What the hell is that? Kind of a small script for what it claims to be able to do. That's interesting. They all seem to do kind of the same thing. Huh. Crap, I just closed it. Didn't want to close it. Alright. Wonder if I need the postality one to run that. Maybe. Anyway, where are you? Well, that's mine. Damn. Maybe I'll need to load up my game with it and take a look here. Of course, there's all kinds of other things in here as well. So, KCG's Limit Breaker. So, as you can see, it's a long script here. So, let's see, limit break, max HP revise, 8. So it's basically like maybe some sort of multiplier for increasing the health, HP, SP, and the stats. Limit break damage correct, max enemy HP limit, max enemy SP, max etc. item limit. Limit breaker, actor level limits. Low limit default 500, XP limit. Actor HP and SP limits, etc. limits. Well, let's see, LB actor level 100 calc. So this must be like calculations for experience, I guess. And the gold limit and item limit. So it's literally used only one time. Calc text G sub. Restore parameter. Like I said, I'm not really sure if this is possible anymore because you don't have access to all this kind of stuff in here. That's an interesting question. How much do we actually have access to in MV? Because I know there's, at least in there somewhere, there's like this black box built into the engine itself that holds some stuff in it. I just don't know if it's all this stuff because, like for example, where does it set the maximum amount of levels you can have? It has to be in the inside of that black box code because the limit in the actual editor is 99 for the character level. There's no setting anywhere to change that. So I'm not sure how feasible this would be to do, but we'll see what happens. We'll see if we can do it. That'd be interesting to see if we could do it. And this one just seems like it modifies things like on the fly somewhat. Like Game Battler here, so we got the max HP. Well, I guess it does define max HP in Game Battler then. What about in MV? Let's see. No. So Game Battler is an object. Oh, we got parameter max. At least for what? MHP and MMP. So that's monster HP and MP. So maximum monster HP is just 1 under a mil, and the max monster MP is just under 10,000, and then everything else is 999. So that's a start. What about for the player? Max TP 100. So HP rate, MP rate. So maybe it will be possible. We'll just have to see. It's going to be requiring probably a lot of edits to game badly, like we see over here, though. But we'll work our way through that one. So, well, let's go ahead and just tackle these in a row here. So let's put it this way. So, need to do the description for this. This plugin should allow a developer to set new limits for pretty much anything I want to say related to character and monster stats, as well as item amounts and gold. Well, let's say currency amount. Item and currency amounts. Should also include max damage. It's damage is recalled. So again, a fairly simple plugin description for something that's completely unnervingly insane. Let's go ahead and start with this. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this as computer documents. Okay, there we go. RMMV plugin doc, I guess. Okay, let's go ahead and close this. Actually, I just want to close out everything that I have open because we're going to create a new project for this, which means we'll need to open up different files, those files in different locations. So, actually, I have it open. I do have it open. Sure, save that and then go new project. So my plugins, advanced weapon plugin. Change the stuff for that. Alright, so let's see. What's going to be the easiest thing to do for this first one? Well, one thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to figure out... Well, actually, So, how the weapons are loaded now when you load up a game, because we're going to need to save this information, obviously. Is that I think it saves the it's saved into the, I think it's game party is where it gets saved into. Open folder. So if we go to say objects, game party. There's one in here for items, I think. Items, weapons, and armor. So, so Verity, this push data weapons ID. Yeah, so here list push data weapons ID. So data weapons. Well, that's interesting. So, game party prototype. The hell? So, let's see, what is this? This is conditional branch, okay. Game interpreter, change weapons. So data weapons holds all the weapon data from the database, basically. What I'm trying to figure out is why the hell are we loading everything from this into game party? Basically it says for... Okay, no, so for... This makes sense. So for... Okay, I wasn't looking at this properly. So what this is doing is we're building a new list because we're getting all the weapons the game party has. So we're building a list for every ID in this underscore weapons. We are pushing the weapon data into the list and then returning it. So yeah, we're still looking at this. Just need to figure out how this is populated. So item container, game manager dot is weapon item, return this weapons. So apparently we use that to get a particular type of item container from game party. So let's search for game party dot so yeah, game party dot weapons. So it's not there. I'm thinking it's either managers or Windows. Maybe core, but I don't think it's in core. It's definitely not in managers. Maybe it is in core. Nope. Alright, let's try Windows then. Let's see what we find. It's not there either. What the hell? Switching open folders. Really? Now that's interesting. So how do we add items? So if we go to, well, it's gonna be game interpreter, I think. Let's see, where's the game interpreter stuff? Okay, here we go. Game troop party. So commands, here we go. Not too far. I'm going to go down to where the commands start. There we go. So show text, show choices, when cancel, input number, select item. Scrolling text, comma, conditional branch. So game party has item, data items, has item, data weapons. So else loop, repeat above, break loop. So switch change items. So game party.game item, gain item. Trade item with party. That's interesting. Wonder where that's called from. Here we go. Game party gain item. Function item amount and include equip. So include equip and then new member or new number is less than 0. This dot discard members equip item minus new number. So I guess this equips it to, so if you buy one item and you pass this include equip flag, it will equip it to a particular character, I guess. Interesting to know how it determines what the actor is. Well, let me see. So this goes through n amount. So while n is greater than 0, so while amount is greater than 0, we're looping through all the actors that are part of it. And actor has that item equipped, discard the item. Or just will unequip it basically. That's interesting. So maybe that's for something else. Anyway, so gain items. So we're adding the items to the list. So whatever it's probably on the actor what they have equipped. But this will be important too as well because we may need to, so if we unequip a weapon that has levels and things, we still need to track it even in the party weapon cache, self-attract, that stuff. So let's go to game actor. So I want to find out. So equips. Okay, we do have an equips. So what is equips though? Is it just a list, or is it it looks like a list of something? A list of what? Probably a list of IDs. Initialize equips. Actor.equips. EXP for level. Just going to show those equips. Here we go. So, equips. So, slots. This dot equip slots. Max slots equals slots dot length. And this equips is again set to that. For I equals 0, as long as I is underneath max slots. This dot equips I equals new game item. Okay, so it's a game item. So if we theoretically wanted to add this stuff, we would need to add to game item, because that way that information would be stored there. Alright, so I think we have a place to start at, game item, which again is going to be in here. So, game item. So, data class. So, set object. So, data class dot is skill item. is item, item is weapon, item. Okay, is armor. So that's interesting. Skills are treated as game items. That's interesting to know. And then else, it's nothing. So that's all. This is all the game item is, huh? Interesting. What about like the parameters? Maybe that's stored underneath a different one, like maybe game weapon. That's not one. Let's go back to game actor. So how are the equips? How's the equip? How do you get the information from the equips? In other words, like the attack power and whatnot. That's probably all done in game battler. There you go, prayer max. Interesting, only MHP. Max HP. Perform damage. So let's go to game battler. So game battler base. Parameters calculations. So trait element rates debuff state blah 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 attack element attack state speed times HP. Alright, game battler. So superclass of game actor, game enemy. That's interesting. So that's the superclass of game actor. Contains methods for sprites and actions. So action, speed, result, animation, blah blah blah. What I'm looking for is some sort of attack function on damage. Perform damage has nothing in it. Maybe because it's just creating it, it's basically defining it, and then it's expecting any subclass to then to implement it. So maybe there's a function in here called that. Perform action. Actions attack, perform attack. There we go, perform attack. So weapons, this weapons. Okay, so we're getting the weapons here. Setting up the attack motion. Perform damage, here we go. Game ballot of prototype, perform damage, call this. Sprite visible, request motion damage. Playing actor damage. So that's playing the damage, we're not actually doing damage, so to speak. So let's search for game action. Check damage type. Make damage value. Evaluate with targets. Function targets. This dot is HP effect value equals make damage value. So target critical. So this dot item base value equals this eval damage formula target value equals base value times this calculates element race target is physical, is magical, critical, item damage variance. So this dot item so game action dot prototype. So this underscore item object so item is new game item. Game action, here we go. So item.set object data skill ID. So that's set skill, set item, set item object. So I'm wondering if that's from scenes, maybe? Yeah, scene battle. Create all windows. Party command window. Oh, cool. This is where this stuff's defined at. Nice. Item, actor, enemy, message window, blah blah blah. Let's see what else. Command, fight, escape. Command fight, select next command. Command attack, battle manager, inputting action dot set attack equals select. And this dot select enemy selection. Refresh dot show select activate on enemy. Okay. Set target this enemy window enemy index. So it looks like it pulls it from. So I'm trying to figure out is where it pulls the information from for doing the actual damage. Does it actually use the item in the game in the actor weapons list, or does it pull it from the database based on an ID? That's really important, because if it's based on the ID, then what we would have to do is well, if it's that way, there's no way to modify this, because then what we'd have to do is modify the database, and can't really do that through the game through a plugin. You have to do that in the editor. So or you'd have to change how it handles weapons. I'm having a difficult time trying to find out where it's actually pulling that information from. It's got to be in here somewhere, though. So managers, what was it called? Battle manager. So targets, blah blah blah. So we got action targets, battlers. I think it's also for battlers in there. Battle test. So on encounter, play victory, replay, updates, update events. Is inputting. Can escape, can lose. Is escaped. Actor. So this dot actor index is greater than or equal to 0. If true, then you pull out the party member. If not, you return null. So it looks like we're getting the actor through this. So that's promising. So change actor. Process turn. Looking for something to do with damage. Start action. Evoke counter action. Magic reflection. Apply substitute. Force actions. Action force. Process force to action. Abort. Change. Check battle end. Check abort. Process victory. Escape. So it would be up here somewhere. Looks like it's like in some sort of order in terms of like how the battle progresses here. So actions, invoke action. Push baseline. So what was that one? There's one that was on attack, command attack. So battle manager, inputting action, set attack. This then set enemy selection. So enemy window, refresh, show, select 0, activate. On enemy, okay, so I'm assuming that means on selecting an enemy. Var action, battle manager, inputting action, action.set target to this enemy window, enemy index. Hide, skill, hide, item window, hide, select next command. Okay, so that's right, you select all the commands and then it processes all the commands. So where's the command processing? That's got to be the manager that does that. So var action, subject current action, action to prepare. If action's invalid, is valid, then start action. Else remove current action. Else subject on all actions end. So start action. So subject equals the subject action, subject dot current action, targets, action dot make targets. Phase, action targets, subject use item, action dot item. This log window, start action. Action dot apply global. Subject.use item. So subject is the game actor. Subject.use item, so game actor. Oh, game battler, okay. So data is skill. Else's item, consume item, so not quite what we want. Start damage pop up true. Make actions speed. Force action, use item. Consume item. Turn on battle end on damage. So value divided by this dot MHP. Charge TP by damage, yeah. So where's on damage getting called from? So execute HP damage. Here we go. So passing through a target and a value. So where's that value being calculated from? Execute damage. Apply function targets. Results. Let's see. Target.results. Subject clear result. Result.clear. Used. Test apply. Target missed. Evaded. Physical. Is physical. Result drained. Result.is hits. This item.damage. Type. Result critical. So if damage type is not 0, then it must be a critical, I guess. Item critical. Run 659. Subject dot critical times 1 minus target CEV. Oh, it's just right up there. So make damage value. So here we go. So item, this item, base value, this dot eval, damage formula target. So A equals subject, B is target, game variables dot data, sign contains value math. Alright, so it's just taking the item, so the game variables dot underscore data. Target subject item. Okay, so it's pulling in the, so in the item you have this formula in the database. It's pulling that in to execute the damage. So you have A, who's the subject, and so you have like, you know, like A dot. So like it would be like for example, I guess I can bring it up here. So if we go to item weapons here, so we have like, for example, well, there isn't one here. Am I thinking of skills? Okay, so skills, we have a damage formula. Okay, attack, right? Attack is a right. This, so when you're attacking, it's actually a skill you're using now. It's not. Okay, that makes more sense. So when we're attacking, A dot attack times 4 minus B def times 2. So in this over here, B is your target, so we're taking the defense value of the target times 2 and subtracting that from A, who is the subject, so the person attacking, character attacking's attack times 4. So what these do then is they modify your attack or defense or whatever values. The question is now, where does that increase happen at? Because if that happens at when you're equipping it, where does that get pulled from? If it gets pulled from the database, then we have to change how it's, you know, using the items like that. So what we need to do is we need to find. I'm not sure if it would be an attack plus equals or what. So if we go back to our skill up here, attack skill, so A dot attack, so ATK plus equals. So we have attack there. Actually, it's params 2. So maybe this dot. Yeah, this dot params 2. Param 2. So it's not anywhere else. So on equip. So that might be a scene, a manager, or it might be a window. So I don't think it's there. Let's try in a window. Let's go to game actor real quick. Or rather, game battler, because that's the super class, and maybe even game battler base, which is what we were just looking at, wasn't it? Yeah. So ATK is what it's called, yeah. So we should be able to access it with let's see, stats, buffs. Battler base. I mean, we're accessing it through here, A dot attack, but there's got to be somewhere in here where we're modifying that when we are equipping a weapon. And that's what I'm trying to find, because that's the next place we need to look at. Maybe it's in core. Nothing for attack. Alright, so param 2. A couple of places. So get function return this dot param 2. Figurable equals yes. So it should just be like game actor dot attack. Let's go to the equip window. Let's see. Status, parameter changes on the equipment screen. So text manager dot equip to equip. Alright, actor can equip. So let's check out the scene for that. Scene. So scene equip. Scene of the class equipment screen. So equip, optimize, blah blah blah. Let's see. Create slots with window, create item window, refresh actor, command equip, slot window dot select, activate. Clear, slot OK, item window select 0 on item OK, manager. So this change equip. So actor change equip. Trade item with party item and equip set object item. Alright, let's see if we can pull anything out through Google here. So, RPG Maker MV. Wham bam, thank you. So random equipment prefix, see with no tags. Yeah, I don't care about prefixes. So I wonder if weapon that has plus level plus 1 divided by. Yeah, instance weapons. So we need to create something to instance weapons with, and then I'll modify how the game processes damage. Yikes, okay. That's what I was afraid of. But we will try and see if we can't do something. Where would we want to save this at? Let's decide where we want to actually put this at. Let's make a little bit of a thing here and say, wow, I didn't want to do that. Why did you put a horizontal roll there for? No, stop being a moron word there. Let's see, findings. That's what I found out. It's blanking hard to do. Alright, need instance weapons, which will be saved with. So, the best place to save this stuff at. Well, here's the thing. We need to do it twice. Kind of. Because we need to be able to store this information once we've unequipped something and it's in the game party weapons pool and while it's attached to the. So, yeah, game item. Saved. Well, the game item isn't saved, so to speak. Game items where we would apply the changes, but we would need to create a new global variable that would contain a list. It would be, damn, it would be a double list, I guess. I don't know, a multi-level list that would have the character, the actor who has it equipped ID, if it's equipped at all. So it would have, so the first level would have, well, no, not necessarily. Maybe it would only be one. So you would have so you would have a couple things. So what we would need to track would be the weapon level. It would need to track the, if it was equipped, is it equipped? If I can spell equipped right. If it is, who is it equipped to? So, equipped actor. Then we need to track stat increase. So just say generic list of stat increases. So in other words, every stat possible, I guess. Not everything would have a value for it though. Then we'd have to have a list of, so we have effects here, so we'd have to store the effects. It wouldn't really change the formula because we would need to do that. What we would change would be it's not that, well, damn, this is true. This is the attack. So we would have to load during the attack. We'd have to load in effects to the attack skill based on the weapon. So like in weapons here, we have traits. Let me see. Actually, no. We'd have to load it in as a trait. Yeah, we need to do traits, not traits in the amount of the trait. Not effects, traits. So whatever traits and their values. This is like a whole nother level of, because we have to figure out now how traits are stored. Like, so you have a type and then you have the content. So yeah, we'll have to figure out how traits are processed, stored, or whatever, so we can store them correctly to be used. What else would we need? Refinement, I guess. So to say plus number. And okay, now where? So all this would be stored in a global list. Now, where would we need to have the list being loaded into? So we would have to modify how weapons are stored. Because right now, what it's doing is just storing the ID in that weapons list for the game actor. So, game actor weapons list probably only stores the ID for the item and the weapon. Was data weapons? But it's storing game items. But game items only has, let's see, game item is like really limited. Yeah, so game item just stores the ID and the class. That's all it stores. That's exactly what it's storing. So we're storing what type of item it is, and then the ID it is, and then we can use the class to find which global list to look into for whatever it is, and then the ID to find that, and then it's pulling the data out of that. What we have to do now is we have to say, go to hell with all this, and we have to create something that will load up the information we need, process it, and attach it to each individual actor. Then when we unequip something, we have to then take that data and store it in the game party somewhere. So game party, which I think there's also one called weapons or something for that. Well, it's called items, I think. Well, it's actually items, weapons. I could say weapons as well. And I'm willing to bet that's just the exact same thing. Yeah, exactly. It's just loading in. Well, let's see. Data weapons. So this actually is storing more than that. It's storing the actual thing from data weapons. So this might be actually storing all the information. So let me, let's start this up. Let's go close this. I'm going to see what actually is in data weapons for the game party. Let's actually try that even further. Alright, so let's go to sources, JS, managers, and then I'm going to find data weapons. Okay, so it's being loaded here, weapons JSON. So we need to put a break there because once it gets past this part, it'll load that in there. We can see what's in there. So let's go ahead and refresh. It should. Okay, we'll put it down there because it doesn't want me to stick it up there. All right, let's go to watch. Delete all that, and we'll just do a data weapons is null. So database files .name /c load data file. Okay, there we go. So we got 5 arrays here. So, okay, here we go, yeah, boom. So we have 5 weapons, I guess, well, 4 weapons with 1 null for whatever reason. So animation ID, description, equipment type ID, the icon for its ID in the database, meta, whatever the hell that is, doesn't have anything in it. The name, the note, the parameters, the price, traits. So code 31, dead ID 1, value 0. So code. So is that talking about like trait code? So like if we go to system types and we go to weapon, let's see, traits. Terms, no. System, no. Skills. Crap, where are those at? States. So, so attack elements. All sorts we're looking at. So attack element physical. So code 31, data ID 1, no value. Code 32, data ID 0. So let me like stick a state in here. Let's say like for example blind. And let's make it 50%. We'll need to actually restart it, I think. Interesting. So now we have a code 13. So we need to figure out these codes and what they refer to. Data ID 5. So I'm betting if we go look at blind, that's going to be ID 5 in the states. Yeah, okay, so that's what that is. Well, what about the one above it though? 31, code 31, ID 1. So that's physical. It's an attack element. Data ID 1. So system types. Okay, so 31 are elements. 13 are states. What about 22? X parameters. So where would that be set at? That would be internal, wouldn't it? The X parameters would be internal. So X parameter 0, hit rate plus 0%. So hit rate is ID 0. Let's check classes. So that also has traits, and that has a lot more of the X parameters in it. So data classes. Traits. So we got 3 X parameters. Yeah, X parameters are 22 then. So 0 is hit rate. Yeah, that's right. 0 is hit rate. Evasion is 1 and critical rate is 2. And then value 0.04. Okay, so on these it's a percentage. The value is a percentage. So we have to start as a float. So the first one's an SP parameter. Maybe a special parameter or something. Target rate times 100%, so that's again a percentage. So 41. So that's so add skill type 41 ID 1. So that's going to be over on skill types. So 1 is that. Okay. Making progress. So equip weapon 51 and equip armor 52, and then various values for those, which are probably related to the types for weapons and armor and things. So armor type 5 is small shield. If we go back over to the class, small shield, yeah. Okay. So let's like make a list of this stuff because this is important to know. So trait decoding, I guess we'll call it. So traits are comprised of 3 values. The code, what the trait is for, data ID, what the trait applies to, and then the value, which is what the trait modifies. Or to say the value of the trait. The applied to thing. By. So, let's see, codes. So we said that 23 is SP param. 22 is EX param. 41 is equip skill. 51 is equip weapon. 52 is equip armor. Okay. So those are what we have for those so far. So now, so 22 X param notes. Param's not listed in the editor anywhere. Probably will have to look into JSON data files to find them. So far, have deciphered the following IDs. So 0 is hit rate. 1 is say evasion, and critical is 2. Evasion. Oh, evasion. Duh. 2 is critical rate. Values are a percentage, so stored as 0.0021. Okay, what about S parameters? Same thing. So 23. Same thing as EX params. ID C. So far all I know is 0, which is target rate. Also stored as a percent. Value also stored. So for the other one now, so add skill type. You know, this might actually go better into an Excel file, to be honest. So let's say RPG maker MV traits info. All right, so trait code name, ID value, ID name, value type, and then notes. So let's start out by making this 15, all 14 fine, and bolding it. Format, column, width. All right. So trait codes so far, we have 22, 23, 41, 51, and 52. So far this, we know these are X params, SP params. So on these, so we know that it's not used on these. So for this trait, ID value corresponds to the skill ID from the skills tab in the editor. Let's copy this down and then change these weapon ID. Let's tab in the editor. Armor ID from the armors. Alright, so now for these though, we do know what these are. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in some rows here. And we're going to put it down so it's like a kind of like a drop down sort of thing. So where's my Word doc? 0. Or percentage as float, so perk as float. 1 we know is evasion rate. Same thing, and 2 we know is crit rate. So on this one we know that 0 is target rate. Be a little bit cleaner to have those be separated by a line. Okay, so I guess, well, let's see. Could we find this more easily by going to the folder data, so what we're looking for is where it might store a list of the traits and whatnot. Maybe in the system. No, that stores everything else. There's got to be something here somewhere that stores it. What about so was it objects base game battler base? Yeah, here we go. Here's a list here. Yeah, there we go. So hit evasion, critical evasion rate. Set in a bunch of rows here. Four is magic evasion rate. Five is magic reflection rate. So there's 9 X parameters. 6 is counterattack rate, counter rate. 7 is HP regen. It is MP regen rate. And TP regen rate is 9. And I'm pretty sure they're all stored, values are stored like that. And there's also 9 SP parameters as well. Okay. So one is target rate, guard effect rate. Whatever that means. 2 is recovery effect rate. 3 is pharmacology rate. Or just pharmacology, I guess. No clue what the hell that does. 4 is MP cost rate. So I guess you modify that to make magic cost less or more, skills cost less or more. TP charge rate. Actually, it's 10. Okay. 0 to 9. Let's see. Around 6, which is physical damage rate. I'm guessing that's magical damage rate, yeah. Eight is floor damage rate. And 9 is experience rate. Once again, I'm betting it's all percentage flip. We'll have to check these values in the see what they actually spit out in the editor. Okay, so we've got these. What about the actual attributes? Like maximum hit points, magic, blah blah blah. So these are just params. So are those saved? Those are probably saved as 21, I'm guessing, if they're going in this order. So let me add that to yeah, 21. So 21 is for regular traits. Or regular parameters, I mean. I'm just going to do this. Modify what we need to. So, and I'm guessing that these are all, well, maybe not. There's some that look like they're probably just like luck, agility, but some of them might also be like magic, or not magic, maximum magic and HP. So we look over in here, attack parameter times 1,000%. So maybe, okay, so it's, so I go to parameter, right, it is, it's times, so it's also a float. These are all floats. Because you're taking what's there already in the character's attribute, the parameter, and you're modifying it based on a percentage. So times 100 means we're just basically doubling it. Times 200, we're tripling it, I guess. Or no, 150 would be triple. 200 is... No, wait. So 100 is double. 150 is doubling it and then half again. And 200 would be triple. I guess so, yeah. Or the other way as well. So 0 is max HP. Yeah. Max MP. Attack. Arc. Nice. Def. Magic attack. Magic def. Agility and luck. So there's only 7, or 8, I guess. Okay. So. Kind of got an idea of how this works now. So, let's see. We're leveling up the weapon. And as it's leveling up, we need to modify the traits of the weapon. So we would take whatever's in the database for like the base version of it, the initial version, and then we would modify that, what's in there. So like for example here, let's just remove this, and so let's add in a param attack times okay, now times 200% is doubling. 100% just means that it's the full amount of attack. 300 would be okay. I get that now. So let's say that we want to add a little bit onto this. So let's just say that we level it up to level 1 or level 2. And let's say we want to add in a little bit of attack. So we would say like 100.75 or something, just to increase it a little bit. So we would add that little bit of attack onto it if it amounted to anything at all. But then we'd have to change this trait in the instance weapon instance, instead of so that it would save it. Okay, this is making a little bit more sense now in terms of what we actually need to do, in terms of what we need to store. So I'm actually just going to remove this because for more C oh wow, I don't want to do that. I just want to like insert the file. How do you insert a file? Like literally never do this. Okay, so existing. So say RM. That's not going to have a. Damn, what's this called? RPG Maker MV trait tutorial or whatever. RPG Maker, there we go. That's what I want. All right. Okay, so what else do we need to worry about then? Let's go back and take a look at that. Now that I'm thinking about it, what else might we need to add for that? So, parameter changes. So how are the parameter changes defined? Well, we kind of have to so it's definitely going to be from the game party items or weapons list, where when we're equipping something, where that data is coming from. So you need to figure out where it's actually coming from, and actually we could just look at the derp. Okay, so there's a params, and then we're probably just calling a param number to pull it out. So, next what we need to do is, well, let me see. Now that we know that, so we might be calling item container from window, I guess, or not. Data weapons. Let's make item list. Alright, let's try scenes. Nope, not there either. I really don't think it'd be managers. Damn. Where are... Let's see. So equip status, equip command. So I think it's going to be the window equip command, because equip optimal. Well, then that brings in the. Where does that lead to? Window for selecting an equipment item on the equipment screen. So this would set actor slot includes equip slots. Select the last steps when update window, play okay sound, window status for displaying full status on the screen. Somewhere it's got to show. Well, somewhere it's got a list. Got to be creating a list of items to show. Selecting equipment slot on the equipment screen. Actor equip slots, equips. So where does this go to? Because when you select the slot, that's when it brings up the next window, which shows all the items in it. So equips slot. There we go, slot window. So on slot OK, item window activate select 0. So item window. I want to search up, not down. Actually, no, that works too. How many item windows can there actually be? That's battle item. Command item. Vector OK, scene battle. Looking for scene equip or something like that. There we go. Okay. So new. Okay, I just call equip item. So pass through that. So initialize window item list. What the hell? This happened before. So window item list, here we go. So category data, max items, so item data manager is name make item list, draw item. Okay, so this is like basically just see. So includes item, switch this category, case item, then if it's an item and then item.id type equals 1. Okay, so item ID 1 is a regular item, item ID 2 is a key item. Interesting. Maybe that's a place where you can create new types of items, is through doing this way. Adding something here. So this is taking in. So where are we setting data though, specifically? Where's Dr. Noonian soon when you need him? He knows what data is set to. Data equals nothing. Max items. Is this a subclass of window selectable? Yeah, it is. But data isn't part of that. Otherwise, it wouldn't be defined there. Where the hell are we setting it, though? Game party can use item. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Game party, all items, function, filter function item. Return this that includes item. This, here we go. So yeah, game party, all items. So this is being populated by game party. Perfect. That's what I was looking for. Now though. After we say OK on this, on item OK. So sound manager, play equip, this actor, change equips, show slot index, slot window index, and item window item. So this is calling the change equip again. So we looked at that earlier. Change equip, slot ID, and item. So trade item with party. So we're exchanging the item that's currently equipped and putting it into the party whatever list, and then equipping the new item, and then refreshing. So my question now is, well, it has to because the values update. So what happens on the refresh? Which is going, I think, probably going to go all the way back up to game battler or maybe game battle base. Yeah, no, nothing there. Oh wait, there we go. So yeah, we call game battler prototype approach. Call this release unequipable items. What does that do? So var slots equips this dot equips. Okay, so we're getting all the equip slots. We're getting all the equips changed false. Var I0, I is listed equips at length, increasing, incrementing I. Item is equips I, so we're getting the ID, I suppose. If item and this can equip item, cannot equip item, or item dot e type ID is not equal slots 1 or slots I. Not forcing, trade it with the party. Set object null, changed to true, and then I've changed break. Or not changed break. So that's interesting. So it just loops through that over and over again until it hits a time, an iteration where nothing has changed. Alright, so that's calling game battler prototype. So which is calling game battler base, which is what I figured. And then that's updating. So this dot set state resist set for each function state ID. This dot erase state ID. And then we are updating the HP somewhere in between 0 and the max HP. But we're not updating any of the other stats. So this is my question. Add param, this param plus param ID plus equals value. Maybe here, add param. So param plus yeah, I think this is a param plus. So we have 8 params. Ooh, 0 through yeah, so here it is param plus. Stores the base parameters. And this I think is a list that shows how many to add on to it. So I bet you anything if we call add param. So change parameter, item effect grow. So game action, item effect grow. So that's like for items that increase stats. Game-based prototype. So I'm wondering if we check for this over in maybe a scene, the scenes, or manager, or in the. It's got to be called from somewhere over here, or not. Because you would think on equip it would do something. So item effect grow. So it's game action prototype. So target and effect. So that's something that we call during battle. Command 137 is change parameter. It's game interpreter. So that's from like an event. Those are the only places it's called though. What about in core? No. Troll find. So there's only 3 places. Item effect grow, add param, and this code from wherever that was at. Line 10,273 of RPG objects. Yeah, down here in command 137. So maybe let's try command 137. Only one place. And the other one was item effect row. Also only one place. Damn. Actor.add param. So I can't believe there's not called anywhere else. You'd expect it to have to be on equip. Where does, let's see where, maybe we can kind of work backwards on this or something. There was a function called params or something, wasn't there? To get the parameters. Traits, objects, traits, param base, param plus, param min, param max, rates, param. The interpreters are just stuffed with parameters with this variable. Okay. Jeez. Okay, game interpreter still. Oh crap. Find all. Sure, it's better highlighting for that. Game character base. Oh, guys, just for like the map stuff. Party. Game unit, enemy, actor. Here we go. Oh, right, no, it's Param Plus. That's why I can't find it. Ah, here we go, Param Plus. So, actor setup, clear Param Plus. Alright, let's go ahead and search open folders for that. God, still nowhere else. Alright, let's see. Let's see, and I type out stats. Class level bonuses, weapon armor state, actor class level bonuses. Hey, okay. So equip core. Alright, let's see. Alright, where's the... Need to see what they're doing with this, note tag. So process equipped note tags to parameter eval. They should really change these. One thing I found I had mentioned, I actually changed on both my plugins is I removed this stuff because these not only are not supported anymore, they're deprecated in the latest JavaScript, but they also no longer are very reliable in terms of how they work. There's a much easier way to deal with these two. It's called, well, let me open the plugin, I'll show you what I mean. Demos, bank demo. Crap. Yay, it's not in there. I'm going to go to plugins, bank. So it's called eval. And basically what you can do with it is, instead of having some stupid thing like that, what you do is you take your... I'm still using match for the actual if condition, but what you do then is you take your regex string, throw it down here, put the .exec command. So command is the, in this case command is the string which we're looking through this stuff for. And then what we do is we say put an OR here and an empty list. So what will happen with what this produces is basically a list of information. So the first one, I forget what it is, but and then what the first element is, but then after that, elements 1 to whatever number of parameters that you have, any number, not just to 9. With the regex number $sign stuff, you only have 9 that you can use. With this, you can go however many you want to. So from 1 to whatever number of capture groups you have, you use that in the matches to pull out the information. So as you can see, that's how I set this up here. And it works pretty well. A lot better, because what was happening was at some point, I forget what it was, I think it was bond system enabled. It just wasn't working at all, period. End of discussion. It wasn't pulling anything through for them. Anything from the capture groups at all. It didn't pull the ID, bank ID. It wasn't pulling the setting over here. It just didn't work at all. And according to regex, this thing up here, it should have been pulling that information. So I did some digging around and found that these things here actually, well, I did not, I didn't change the time yet. I'll have to do that. Completely missed that one. These things are just not very reliable anymore. This works a lot better though. But anyway, so back over here. So we're pulling out the note. So object.parent. So object is the. So what is object? Object is. Object apparently is nothing. Here we go. Object is group N. So group is what? It's probably just a list of items. So object equals group N, group. So group.length. So we're passing it through there. Where are you coming from? Ah, here we go. So group is whatever we're passing through here. Gotcha. So it could be classes, weapons, or armors. Let's see. Process note tags 2. Okay, so that's for weapons and armors only. So we're pulling that in. The note tags in. We have our cases, objects. Okay, so HP max, HP, or HP. So params equals value. MP, SP, whatever, all that stuff, value. Attack, STR, value. Def equals value. So we're basically just setting the values. So it's pulling in the value from the node tag and setting it to that parameter value and object. Okay, equip init equips. Grab init equips, equips slot type. Game actor prototype initiate equips. Game actor initiate equips. Release unequipped items, equipable items, recover all, refresh equips equals convert init equips equips. Convert init equips. So this is actually overloading the game actor functions. So equips length, equips I, equip ID is less than or equal to 0, continue. Equip type, data system, equip types 1, I plus 1, that's interesting. Oh, equip types. So I plus 1 gets around the 0 issue. Because there's always a null record on 0 for this kind of stuff. No clue why, but it just is. For some reason, Enterbrain or whoever the hell is working on it now, developing it now, decided, hey, let's make zero-indexed arrays a thing of the past because it would be so bleeping awesome. And then every developer alive in the world said, no, don't do it. But they did it anyway. So equip init equips slots.length equips. So we're nulling out equips. So as long as I is less than max slots, we are initializing equips to game item. And then we're going through max slots again, and we are setting up the slot type, and we are grabbing initial equips slot type. So as long as I is less than equips.length, var equips is equips I, if not equip continue, if equip is null, in other words. If slot type is 1 and data manager is weapon equip. So we're checking to see if the slot type is 1. So if it's a weapon slot, and if the item is a weapon, then we are going to set the item to equip. Then break. And then if item equips I1 equals null. So if item equips I1, or equips I, so we're nulling out that particular item from equips and returning the item back up to here, which is set into equips. Then we're checking if can equip, then the actor will equip the item into that set object equip. Okay. So equip data armors, blah blah blah. I'm looking to see if there was like any change somewhere to, let's see, val parameters. Function, val parameter plus. Well, that's different. I don't think that's in game actor. No, it's not. So, if item is null, return 0. So we're passing through an item and a parameter ID. So if item is not, if item.parameter eval is null, so what is parameter eval? Equip item. This is all Windows stuff. Scene equip. Utilities. Alright, so there's no changes to game item as far as I can tell. Let me see parameter eval. Does that exist? No, it doesn't. So item parameter eval, or if item parameter eval is null, return 0. Var value equals 0, so we're basically setting all these values to 0 for all these parameters. A is this, so that's the actor. User is this, so we're setting user to actor as well. S is game data switches, variables, code, item eval, parameter eval, so it equals code. Eval code catch E. So param ID case. basically we're trying. This is evaluating. This might be something from some other Yanfly plugin. As is this. This maybe from like Item Core or something. You know what? I bet it is. So what is the parameter eval? Not in here, is it? That's interesting. There's all kinds of evals. Okay, here's the eval. Oh, it's on creation eval. I'm looking for just .eval. Maybe it's in the utility. There's like at the very bottom of utilities thing. Nope, that's just the display error. Troll find. All right. Anyway, oh no, wait. Eval is eval's yeah, JavaScript. So code is parameter eval. I'm not sure what this is from, but it looks like it's pulling in the, might be pulling in the, like a formula field or something for that. Or maybe it's a note tag thing. I don't know. Anyway. So, and then we are adding to the, adding to the actor these values. So this is kind of, sort of, so that's on Yanfly equip game actor param plus equals game actor prototype param plus. Param plus game actor. I'm pretty sure there wasn't a... Oh no, there it is, param plus, it is there. So overloading it, so they are calling the one for param plus and storing the value from what's returned. And then it's not used. Oh no, value plus equals this custom param plus, which returns a 0, which is, so that always returns a 0. Interesting. And then eval param plus, which is this. I still have no clue where that's coming from, but the item is game item, so if it's not custom, it should be in game item, but I'm not seeing it in game item. Unless it's, I'm pretty sure game item is not a subclass, it's a superclass. Yeah, there's no... So let me check item core again. So it's not in item core either. That's interesting. Let me go back a sec. Actually, yeah. What are the requirements for this? Fine, note tags, yada yada. Custom note tag allows for picture making. Where are, there's gotta be a list of requirements. Okay. You think it would require some other, is it Yanfly core? Core engine. Yeah, see, this is done through note tags. I'd rather try to avoid overloading stuff with note tags on with my plugins, because some, like for example, on the character class changer, the character database entries have class tags and have note tags in them for the gender. Let's check this. I don't think it's in here because I think this modifies core. I don't think it modifies like game item or anything. No. No. If it was, it would be an item core, I think. But there aren't any modifications there. Just trying to figure out where the hell this param eval is coming from. But I mean, this is kind of what I was looking for, but at the same time, so on actor param plus, where is this being called from? It's not being called from anywhere. Not in here anyway. Unless it's, no, it's not up here. Well, it would show up if it was being called from up there. So once again, we have a question here of how was this actually called? Well, not how, but where. And at what point should we call it? So %. Okay. Well, let's just start working on this, and then maybe stuff will work itself out in the end. All right. So this is why people like whenever they figured out you have to instance weapons, they're like, oh hell no, screw that, I'm not doing that. Okay, let's just make this. Okay, finding is very effing hard to do. Okay, so I guess the first thing we need to do is we need to create a new global variable that'll be stored with the save files. So that means also it has to be a new object. Okay, we can do that. All the way to the bottom of the objects file. Okay. So I guess we'll call it so all these are called game something, right? Game interpreter, game actor, game player, game battler. So game instance weapon, I guess we'll call it. Well, it's okay. So game instance weapon dot prototype. Or no, it's just prototype equals object.create. Unless I'm losing my mind, which is, it's possible. I've been looking through this code for like 2 hours now trying to find this crap, so it's very possible. Where is the top of this? Game interpreter is too massive for its own good. Okay, we won't buy it. Yeah, prototype object create. Okay. Prototype object dot create. So object, I guess, dot prototype, because this is not going to be a, well, it's a base class of it's a subclass of object, but it's not. That's an let me see. I was gonna say that's interesting. This actually, so if it's a superclass, it doesn't actually get defined this way. Alright, so function game instance weapon this dot apply, or this dot initialize I believe that's correct. Initialize apply to this arguments. Come on. So this arguments okay. So now game instance weapon dot prototype dot initialize this function. So I guess we could pass through an item. So when we first add an item to the game party list or to the player's equipped items, we would have to pass it through to here first, because basically what we're doing is we're putting something in between those functions and what's actually being stored in the data and the game party and actor stuff. So basically we're hijacking the actual data information and we're storing it into this object, and then this object is going to be stored into those two places, instead of having just the ID stored into those places like it is now. So show So what the item would be is the, okay, so we'll say item and item type. Using an item ID and type. So now what we would say is, so we have to do a whole bunch of crap here. So instance web vars. So basically what we need to do now is like sort of duplicate the structure of the weapon data, the data weapons in here. So we need to have params, x params, sp params. We need to have the name, the type. What else? Who knows what else? So for now, we'll start with that. So this dot underscore params equals this. This dot underscore. So there's that, and this dot underscore name. So name ID, this dot underscore type. What else? So, well, we need the icon, I suppose. The animation, the price. Well, the player can sell the weapon for half this price. So wait, what? Player can sell this weapon for half of this price when the price is greater than 0. Really? That's interesting. So, what do we need to store the price? Oh, traits. We need the traits too. I almost forgot about that. But do we need the icon? Oh, we probably need the animation. But what do we need the icon? Yeah, we might need the icon. Yeah, I might need the price too because we load that information in. Yeah, okay, we'll start. I don't know if we need it or not, but we'll start. So how's the? That's an interesting question. So animation ID, icon index ID. Okay, so E-type ID. So maybe we should try and actually keep these close to what these are. So params. Right. So, well, this is different though because then we have the traits which store. Yeah. So we'd need to store these. So those are the base params. Let's actually make sure we call them that, base params. This underscore what do I want to call these? I'm going to call them add params because that's kind of weird. Let's call these. Well, technically add params makes sense because you're adding the params onto it. So, yeah, okay, fine. I at the risk of saying that I stole the idea from Yanfly to call it that. It just makes sense. When something makes sense, it just makes sense. Doesn't matter who came up with the idea. Do not reinvent the wheel. Although, kind of I am right now. We're going to make it square instead of round this time. Well, no, we'll make it trapezoidal instead of round this time. See if it actually works that way or not. Anyway, so we got that. These aren't going to be like the, well, so base params is what's coming out of the weapon itself, the weapon thing itself. There's no param things for SP or EX, so that's fine. Name ID traits, icon, what was the other one? Animation ID, right. This underscore anim ID. I'll just call it animation. Okay. So traits is actually an array of objects. Well, it's an array of JSON objects, so it's basically just key value pairs. Weapon type ID, W type ID, 2. So that indicates that it's a sword. Weapon type ID 2. So equipment type ID 1 means it's a sword. What does weapon type ID mean? Okay, here we go. So then what's E-type? E-type ID is 1. So yeah, 2, okay, 2 is the weapon, the type of weapon. Okay, so, okay. E-type ID 1 means that it's a weapon. W-type ID means that the weapon type is a sword. Gotcha. Alright, that makes sense. I-type, so item type, and then, well, actually it's going to be an integer, and then this underscore W-type. So really we don't even need to worry about that. And this should actually probably be weapon type instead. And then what type of weapon this item is. Alright, and actually technically what we should do is and then modify them up here, or do whatever we need to do to modify them up here. So in this case, list underscore W type equals wep type. List underscore I type equals 1. So weapon. So I think the rest of this now what we could do with this is just say item dot params. Oh, there's also a description. Okay, note as well. Okay, let's see. It appears to be everything. Alright, so we got all the parameters set up. First thing we'll do is we'll call this dot init, well, yeah, this init members. Then we'll call this dot process traits. Well, process param traits. So now what we need to do is we need to go through our also, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, next we need to go through traits. Where's my Excel sheet? That's where this is going to come in handy. So, let me put in one extra field here to also then identify what the actual, so it's code, data ID, and value. Just so that I can say, okay, this is what that is. These are the actual key names in there. So we're going to need to do a object.keys loop, I think, to get all this stuff out of traits. Or actually maybe even two of them, because what we have to do is we have to loop through, no, I guess, no, just once. We have to pull out all the element IDs, so 0, 1, 2, and then use that with a new thing so we don't lose so we can actually access it properly. Pull out the code, then pull out the data ID, and so on. So var oops. So, do we want to modify these directly or not? So in other words, do I want to make params equal add params? Or do I want to, afterwards, do a for loop on these and then update them that way? I think the for loop is better because you're not modifying them directly, and it's easier to maintain and debug and things like that later on. So yeah. Okay, what else do we need? We need var I guess we'll call it traits. It won't overwrite what's there, so we're not doing underscore traits. Equals this dot underscore traits. What else do we need? I think that's it. So now object dot keys traits dot for each function even though it's not really technically the right variable name, but that's where it is. So first thing I want to do is we want to pull out the code. So var code equals traits id dot code. If code equals 21. So params, let's call params. Else if code 22 actually, yeah, it's just not do that. SP or yeah, X params. All right. So now, case, or is it switch? Switch on, so let's get a var dot data ID. Actually, that's what we should call it, data ID. So switch on that data ID. So if case is 0, so that's max HP. So params 0 equals Actually, it should be plus equals. Because you could have multiple, like you could have maybe multiple things in there that could be modifying things. I don't know why you would, maybe you could. Data value. So it's safer just to do it that way. Break. Sounds magic def and cheat def. Enough if I was using the right parameter name, variable name from the beginning. Data val. Case 7, which is luck. Lull. Case 7 is lull. The lulls are strong with this one. And then, of course, because we want to be extra safe, anything that's not one of those, we're just going to say, get the hell out of here. Don't want you here. Alright, so, to be honest, we could do a, double case statement, double switch statement, double nested switch statements, triple nested. I have very good experience with nested switch statements, and they are basically how the devil gets inside of you from the early days of Odyssean Void when it was called Space Crusade. I had this crazy, like, 10,000 line long for loop. Let's see, it was I think a quintuple nested switch statement inside of a double nested for loop just to handle all the shop menus. It was every time I think about it I get a headache because that thing was so hard to maintain. Anyway, so that's for that one. So let's do the same thing. Technically we should do these out here as well, because it won't change, because this is all going to be for the one thing, so technically we can do it that way. And that makes us a little bit cleaner. So all we have to do is just do the same thing now. Now, a couple things that'll have to be different. We'll need to add some more cases, first of all. Actually, we need 2 more. 8 and 9. Because there's 10 on this one, so 8, or 7 rather, and 8. Oh no, that's right, we did need one more. And never mind. Okay. Next, we need to change params to SP or EX params. Alright, we just need to do a Control-Shift-D. No, Control-D. Yeah. EX params. So EX params. So that's hit rate. Evasion rate. Critical rate, critical evasion rate. Magic evasion rate. Magic reflection rate. Counter rate. HP regen rate. MP regen rate. And then EXP rate. Or no, that's the other one. This one's TP regen. And then all we really need to do now is just take this again and copy it down and then just change everything from EX to SP and the comments. Well, we have all 9 of them now, so that's good. So target rate, guard effect rate. Recovery effect rate. Pharmacology, whatever the hell that is. I think that's their fancy way of saying the rate of healing item effect. So when you use healing items, they have, you know, they're 100% effective, they're less than 100% effective, they're more than 100% effective, etc. They couldn't just call it like healing item rate or something, they'd say pharmacology. Because as if everything wasn't confusing as hell enough in our tooltips, we need to make it even more confusing. NP cost rate. Alongside destroying the concept of zero-indexed arrays. For the hell of it. Change. TP change rate. Charge rate, not change rate. Holy crap. TP charge, physical damage, phys damage rates, magic damage rates, yes. Floor damage rate, which I guess is the base or something damage. Floor. Oh, ooh, floor. I don't know what that. FLLOR. Whoever can figure out how to pronounce it wins the internet. And then EXP rate. That's where that one goes. Okay, so that's all done now. So we are managing our traits, pulling them in, at least for the parameter traits. Pulling them in, and we are setting them up into here. Now what we have to do is we have to do for loops to then add these into our actual, you know, this underscore ones. Yeah, so we can do this all at once. We don't have to do one for each one. So, well, Yeah, we can. It's not going to be pretty, but we can do it. Var I1 equals 0. I1 is less than 9. No, less than 10. I1 plus plus. So, first, if I1 is, whoops. So less than 8, because there's only 8 parameters in the params. So, so we're taking the element at whatever place we're at in params, and we're plus adding it to, plus equaling it to whatever's in add params for the item. And we're using the less than 8 because it's 0 to 7. So once we hit 8, at that point, if we tried to do something else into add params, kaboom, you explode the program with an index out of bounds error, so we need that there. The other ones, we don't need that there. All we have to do is just say list underscore sp params plus equals sp params I1, and I forgot to add the I1. Should always use I1, not just I, because if you have multiple iterators, easier to keep track of. And this underscore ex params I1 plus equals ex params I1. Okay, so that sets that up. So now we are passing through the item and the weapon type. We're setting the weapon type, or setting up all these other values based on what's in the items. We are setting just the traits broadly there, and then the base params. And then we are, well, first we're calling the init members, where we're setting up all this stuff as well. Initializing anything that we're going to be using later on for something else, and then everything else is getting set here. Then we call the process param traits. We set up a couple variables to store just some lists of zeros to modify. We store this underscore traits and the var traits, and then we object.key for each loop it. Pull out the code from each trait that we have. We check the code to see if it's 21, 22, or 23, which are all the parameter codes, which we found over in the found from the game battler base class. And then we do a case on the actual ID, and then we add add that particular value to that particular element in that particular list for that particular parameter code. Once all that's done, then we loop through our parameter lists and add the values from those lists, var lists defined above, to those, so that we update those into the instance weapons list things here. So the next stage, I guess, would be to then develop some code to actually do this part. So even before we get to all the other complicated stuff of like tying this weapon instance, game instance weapon class into everything else, first we have to figure out a way to intercept the item equip commands to instead of going to directly into the party or the actor classes, to throw the stuff over here, fill all this out based on that, then to return this instance weapon and then put that into those two classes. That we'll have to wait for another day. It is now 12 o'clock, and at this point, if I try coding, it just turns into a freaking mess. I'm surprised this isn't a mess. It looks actually pretty good. So, thanks for watching. If you watched it live or watching on YouTube afterwards, leave your comments and questions below. And I would appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel. This is going to be one of the more complicated plugins I think that I've tried to do, just because this is going to be modifying a ton of stuff that's a ton of things that are kind of at the core of how some of this stuff works, like putting something in between the data loading, saving, whatever, and putting the weapons and things into the game actors and game party classes, for example. We're going to be messing around with all that stuff, so it's going to be kind of interesting to see how this works. But I will see you next time. I'm not going to say there's going to be any streaming for SO3 because there may or may not be. If it happens, it'll happen, but I'm not planning to, so I might do some on the spur of the moment, but I'm not planning anything. Tomorrow, let's see, 4th of July. In the morning, I may do some streaming. Not when I usually do it, but maybe like around, because I'm probably not getting to sleep tonight, so probably around 1:30, 2:30. It's probably maybe around sometime between 9 and 10. I'll start up streaming and maybe we'll work on this, or maybe we'll change gears and work on one of the other more complicated ones now. And maybe I'll work on this, and maybe we'll go back into the bank plugin and the class change plugin and see where we can do some fixing or modifying or further refinements. Definitely for the bank plugin, I need to fix the I need to fix the windows that I didn't fix before I released it, and also add in some way of actually resizing them based on the number of commands that are being loaded into some of the selection windows. Like for the there'd be like a minimum size it would be, but then and also a maximum size. So as more items get added, it'll actually extend upward, and so that it'll be a little bit more interesting that way. But that'll be for tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. But I will see you then.